Hello, I'm Dr. Jillian Whately, and I have been with Diamond in the Rough for probably about 12 to 13 years because my daughter's 10 now, and I was doing some work prior to there, so maybe like 12 years. Yeah, I started out as a school psychologist in Maryland, and then I moved here in 2008 and was a school psychologist in Gwinnett County Public Schools, after which I went on to get in leadership over student support services in metro districts, and right now I am the executive director of student support services in Clark County School District, where I supervise nursing, psychological services, social work, migrant education, discipline, registration, anything that deals with students, trauma-informed care. All of those things fall under my wheelhouse. Additionally, I'm an adjunct professor at Georgia State University. I was most recently a visiting professor at UGA, University of Georgia at Athens. And I'm also an implicit bias expert with the Academy of Creative Coaching. One of the main challenges I see is that sometimes women lack self-esteem and self-efficacy, and thus it's hard for them to teach that to their daughters. I think for the last century or so, maybe even decade, I don't know, people have poured so much into materialistic things such as our external, the way we look, which is important. I don't want to devalue that, but that should never supersede what's happening on the inside. So as a result, we have folks that look great but that are empty on the inside, and thus this causes low self-esteem, low self-efficacy, learned helplessness has set in, and then eventually it trickles over into mental health if that's not already happening. I say all that to say that mental health is a huge issue, but there are some underlying things that I think happen that we should be working with our girls on very early to prevent them from entering into that space of just wanting to hurt themselves. And one is helping your child to be able to develop, to know who they are, know their purpose and why they're here, spending time with them. But a lot of us don't know what our purpose is and why we're here. So it's hard for us to impart that on our girls. And so for me, just even in working with women and even in the work I do with students, I see that as a huge area of concern, where people just don't know themselves. They seem like they do, but they're just very uncertain of themselves. They may appear like they know themselves. They may appear very confident, but you can tell when they're in certain situations or when certain situations hit them that they flow like the wind. They move like the wind. And so you have to know your purpose. You got to know why you're here. You got to know the task that God is giving you so that you can execute that confidently, even when the wind is flowing and opposition comes. Well, Diamond in the Rough is an amazing program. Prior to me becoming a mom, I found out about Diamond in the Rough when I was practicing as a school psychologist in Gwinnett County. And I was like, wow, this is a great program for girls, whether or not it's a prevention or intervention or both. It's just a great program for girls. And so for me, when I found out I was having a girl in 2011, it was no doubt in my mind that she was going to be a part of Diamond in the Rough. There was no doubt. And so one, as a prevention, but two, as a community. I am a single mother, and let's see, when my daughter was 3 months old, her father and I went our separate ways. And earlier on in her development, there were some things that occurred within our relationship that my daughter still doesn't know about to this day, but that I wanted to make sure I was whole so I could parent her right. And that goes back to my previous comment about understanding your purpose and why you're here and making sure you're okay so that the children are okay. I didn't want to be a broken woman raising a broken child. And so I found that Diamond in the Rough was kind of like that community, not only for my daughter, but for me as a mom, a new mom, a mom that had never seen single motherhood. I grew up in a two-parent home, so I didn't know. I needed to hear other people's stories so that I can learn from those and yield to that, and not yield to my degrees and my experiences through other people, but actually embracing my own experience and being able to be a great mom for Nuri. That was really important for me. I did not want to raise her to be broken, and I did not want to continue to be broken. After a relationship ends, you don't feel like yourself, right? You're trying to figure it out. And so I didn't want that. I wanted that to not last long. I didn't want that to impact her development. And so Diamond in the Rough was a perfect healing space for me and a perfect place for my child to grow and continue to develop. It's the sisterhood for her. One thing that she values is that connection, the relationship, and those activities, and how you all pour into them. She has verbatim said that. And that's how I know I made the right decision, right? Because it's one thing for you to think, okay, I'm going to put my child in this program and I'm thinking it's going to do X, Y, and Z. But when you hear them use the same language and that they're being taught, and it comes back to you as the parent, you're like, that's confirmation that I did the right thing. And so she enjoys coming to the activities. She enjoys the mentorship that she received from the leaders, and she loves them honestly and wholeheartedly and purely. And she can't wait to come back. I think that's a great question. I think sometimes people can see you as having all the answers, and you may have the answer in your particular space or with what you've been through, but I always leave room to learn from the audience. And one thing I have learned a lot from the parents in the parent group is about things that middle schoolers have, parents of middle schoolers were going through. I hadn't gone through yet, and just to sit and listen to that was amazing to me, because it's one thing when you're thinking it from your professional lens, but there's another thing when you're thinking it from the mom lens, and what would I do if I was in that situation, So I really value those parent groups. I would tell anyone who is interested in diamond in the rough that don't just do it for your child, do it for you, to make you a better person, to make you a better mom and parent, dad for your child. And so we gotta start paying attention to the things in us that are not well, that impact how we parent our children. I think sometimes we get so caught up in not wanting people to know our business, or being private, or thinking only this group of people gonna be able to help you. No, you gotta be open to the people that God puts in your life. And he does put people in your life to lead you to the path, and you can't think that you know it all, or else you're going to be blocking your blessing. And so for me, I just stay open. I'm happy to be a part of the community, I have to say community, sisterhood, and loyalty. So when you find a quality, good program that values community, that values sisterhood, that values loyalty, and I'm gonna mix in there integrity and all that, that's a program that you don't let go of. You stay with that. And so I'm committed to Diamond in the Rough.